serious condition will have some answers. Stay well
and strive to make every day a healthy day.
Nini hapa?
Nimekuja baba.
Kufanya nini?
Mbona una raha?
Ile siku nilikusemesha ukakata kunijibu.
Kwa taarifa yako, mimi ni mke wa kiongozi.
Sasa wewe ndo mzao.
Mwajua na nyinyi wenyewe, mtu wa kando ni mimi tu.
Sudi atakwambia. Sina haja nikwambie ni nini.
Mimi siko.
Ukija hapa, njoo kwa sababu mtu ni watu. Mengineo sahau.
Broadcasting house in the county of Nairobi. You're just in time for KBC Lunchtime News. Many thanks indeed for joining us for the next 1 hour or so. Allow me to take you through the headlines shaping up the news conversation in the country at this hour. Of course, we're keeping tabs with the 6-day development tour by President William Ruto in Western Kenya. And my colleague Achola Simon is currently on his trail. We'll be getting there in Western. I'm informed that Achola is ready, and we are now joined by Achola Simon live from Kakamega. We've been keeping tabs with the president's visit. Achola, if you can hear me, good afternoon.
Well, thank you very much, John, Ben Troy, Njue. What we are actually doing as we speak, constituency, if you want, Shinyalu sub-county, and what is happening here is that we are actually expecting President William Ruto to arrive here shortly. Of course, he's been having a cabinet meeting since morning, and what will be happening from here is that, of course, he'll be launching the last mile connectivity, and the numbers that are actually being given is that he's targeting, or at least the government is targeting to ensure that around 26,000 households in Kakamega County alone is actually connected to the electricity, and of course as they do that, they'll be spending close to 2 billion shillings. And of course what will be happening is to ensure that, of course, the power can actually reach, and every of the 26,000 households they're actually targeting is that they'll be installing about 360 transformers across the county to ensure that more and more people can actually access it. From here, Ben Njue is that they will be heading to Sigalagala, where he's expected actually to have a roadside meet the people, and of course continue to spell out a number of the activities that his government is actually rolling out to the benefit of Mwananchi. As I talked to you earlier, Ben Njue, is that yesterday he was in Mumias, and of course that historic event where 150 million shillings was dispersed to farmers in this county, and of course also farmers spilling all the way to Busia and Bungoma counties. That, of course, is a first in the country in terms of ensuring that Ken farmers for the very first time get a bonus. He will also, from tomorrow, will also be involved in another agricultural activity in Lower Nzoia, where he's expected to actually get to look at the ongoing expansion of irrigation scheme in Lower Nzoia. And of course, that irrigation scheme, they are doing everything within their means to ensure that they expand up to 10,000 acres that will be under irrigation, just to ensure that indeed they increase food productivity in the country. There will be a number of other activities that, of course, will be undertaken by the president as he towards the western part of the country, includes, of course, opening of markets, and of course also continuing with the last mile connectivity projects that he's actually been launching. Roads will also be commissioned, and of course checking the ongoing road construction in many parts of this region. Ben, as we all are aware now, the president will actually be here for 5 days. He began his tour on Sunday when he went to Cheptais for a church service. Yesterday he was in Mumias, and of course the tour will go all the way up until Friday. That is when he'll be concluding his tour of the Western region. Of course, it's a bag full of goodies for the people of this region, but more importantly, he says he wishes to continue to sell the government agenda to the people, not only for this region, but of course across the country, so that they forget to understand what exactly his government is doing. Back to you, Ben, Troy, Njue.
Thank you so much, Achola Simon, live from Kakamega, where we are expecting the head of state to be joining them in a few, where he is also expected to be commissioning the last mile connectivity project. Earlier on today, he was in a cabinet meeting in Kakamega. Also on the to-do list of President William Ruto is the road commissioning. I remember yesterday over 150 million in bonuses for the sugar farmers. Of course, as Achola says, a lot of goodies for the Western region. We're keeping tabs with that visit. In other news, a section of cancer patients undergoing treatment through the Social Health Authority, SHA, have given their accounts of a successful health coverage through the new system, even as other Kenyans tell different experiences. Several patients and relatives interviewed at the Kenyatta University Teaching, Research and Referral Hospital said their medical charges have been met by the authority in time, saving them money they would have otherwise spent if expenses were to be paid out of pocket.
At the Kenyatta University Teaching, Research and Referral Hospital, we meet Evans Muigai, who was diagnosed with lung cancer stage 3. He says SHA has paid for 33 radiotherapy sessions and chemotherapy treatment at the KU Referral Hospital since he started the procedure mid last year.
Lipia radiotherapy 33, 3,000 each radiotherapy ni 3,600 na italipa chemotherapy 6 kwa kila wiki nafanywa moja Monday.
However, this is his appeal to the government.
Ni serikali itengeneze hiyo system ya SHA venye kunasemekana ina collapse. Wajaribu isikuwe ina collapse juu sadiri na collapse na baby mgonjwa kama mimi sasa naenda kufanya chemotherapy na ime collapse. Sinaona sasa ugonjwa itaendelea kusambaa mahali kwingine.
Jane Karemi from Meru County, who has been undergoing treatment for cancer since 2020, concurred and said except for the initial delays of registration during the shift from the National Health Insurance Fund, she has not encountered any problems with SHA. The medical cover, she says, has been paying a medical bill of 53,500 shillings.
Kaniuliza about registration ya SHA, nikamwambia niliregister. Phone ikuchukua minute, nikaambiwa imeapproviwa na nimelipiwa treatment ya kuenda PT scan. Full for 53 something. Iko cleared.
According to KUTRRH Clinical Service Director Dr. Onyembo Kerama, SHA has covered most of the medical services offered by the facility, including cancer screening and treatment, surgeries, and renal and heart disease treatment.
Tumefanya 427 chemotherapies in the last 1 week peke yake. In the last 1 week, hiyo 427 yote imelipwa na SHA. Radiotherapies tumefanya 358 in the last 1 week. In the last 1 week yote imelipwa na SHA. Tumefanya 100 surgeries in the last 1 week.
Kerama has appealed to Kenyans to turn out and register for the healthcare scheme despite the initial hiccups experienced. Kasi Chanamasha, Lunchtime News.
And away from health matters to security matters, where the latest contingent of 217 Kenyan police officers to Haiti has begun patrolling the capital Port-au-Prince and other towns as part of the international peacekeeping mission. The deployment is a response to the escalating violence and widespread instability across the Caribbean nation.
On the streets of Port-au-Prince and major towns in Haiti, where gang activity has been rampant, the presence of Kenyan police officers is being felt.
Members of the public in this country, they are very good. They interact with us each and every day, and they give us information concerning the movements of each and every gang around. And when we get the information, we act promptly to make sure that we push them away and we make sure that they stay safe.
The troops conduct both ground and aerial surveillance by use of drone technology to ensure the safety of residents. Superintendent of Police Edwin Kwale says the patrols will continue until peace returns in Haiti.
We are here today at Atras area where the gangs had invaded on 1st of January 2025 while this country of Haiti was celebrating the Independence Day. And we received a message very early in the morning that there is a group of gangs who has invaded Thomasin area. And we made efforts and joined hands with the PNH police, whereby we surely engage the gangs.
The Kenyan police officers trained in handling complex security situations are working alongside other international peacekeepers, including forces from Jamaica, Guatemala, El Salvador, the Bahamas, and Belize. Their presence is part of a broader effort to stabilize Haiti, which has faced political instability, economic challenges, and a collapse in security since the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse in 2021.
They had invaded up to this hill and beyond, but we managed to repulse them, whereby we overpowered them. And currently, the area is safe.
So far, Kenya has deployed 617 police officers to Haiti. Maria Mbo reporting for the Lunchtime News.
And back home, the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, IPOA, has assured victims of the Dukamoja clashes, where 2 people are shot dead and 7 left nursing injuries, that no stone will be left unturned until they get justice. IPOA commissioners, led by their vice chairperson, Njue, spoke at the Narok Referral Hospital after visiting the families that lost their loved ones and the injured police officer. She confirmed that 3 police officers admitted in a Nairobi hospital are recuperating well.
We also want to thank the National Police Service, because we understand there are changes which have already occurred, but from the members of the public whom we have spoken to, we still understand there are more changes that need to be done, because we want a community that coexists peacefully with the police officers, because their work is to protect professionally, and also as law-abiding citizens, we need to also give them their space to do their work.
One of the bodies had penetrating abdominal injuries, which shattered the blood vessels, the major blood vessels in the abdomen, leading to massive hemorrhage. So one of the causes was hemorrhagic shock. The other one had a perforating injury on the head, suffering a traumatic brain injury.
But my prayers and wish is that the IPOA will be able to enable these families to get justice.
In other news, the Media Council of Kenya, MCK, is proposing a formulation of a curriculum which will support capacity building for news editors and sub-editors to enhance the quality of content for news bulletin. Speaking during the launch of this year's annual Journalism Excellence Awards in Nairobi, MCK Chief Executive Officer David Omoyo decried what he termed the increasing number of news stories which do not meet the set ethical standards. Joseph Wahungu has more.
Despite the media remaining a trusted source of information in the country, the Media Council of Kenya is expressing concerns over how stories are packaged. The Media Council of Kenya Chief Executive Officer David Omoyo says there are increasing cases of unethical content dominating news bulletins.
If you look at a news bulletin, primetime news bulletin, it is the obituary column. Literally, you watch news 9 up to 10, 15, it's obituaries. Nani ameua, na kama hajao mtu nani ametusi mwingine and all that, isn't it? We rarely have inspiring stories.
MCK is asking editors and sub-editors to up their game in the review of the stories to enhance quality of news broadcasts.
To quickly develop a curriculum for sub-editors and editors. I honestly, because stories come in, isn't it? Against what benchmark do we clear stories as editors? So you are a reporter, you have become an editor, isn't it? Against what benchmark do you do that?
Meanwhile, the Media Council has launched the 2025 Annual Journalism Excellence Awards with a keen focus on vetting outstanding journalistic work, which focuses on tourism, national cohesion, and animal welfare.
Beginning this year now, we will award good journalism. If it is a health and medical story, it is one health and medical story, the best story. It will be on TV, it will be on radio, it will be on news, there will be one story. And of course, they are runners-up.
And sometimes people ask, what is in an award? Because sometimes some people feel like there's really nothing much to achieve from an award. But I can tell a lot of us who are products of these awards have excelled or have gone a notch higher because of those awards. And that's why as editors, as the media organizations, we should strive to support our journalists.
Joseph Ohungu for Lunchtime News.
Elsewhere, Interior and National Administration Principal Secretary Raymond Omolo has called on elected leaders to focus on the mandate given to them by the electorate and avoid unnecessary political distractions. While presiding over the groundbreaking ceremony of an administrative block and police station county, national government's efforts to allocate funds to the counties for development, many elected leaders had become too involved in early political campaigns.
We have given you an opportunity to serve. The elections came, and now it is time to work. I want to encourage you to continue with the same spirit, that we can all be seated together, discussing matters development, discussing issues that affect the common man. We have set aside our own political differences so that we work for the people. And I would want to appeal to our people. Let us not be the source of friction amongst our leaders, for whatever selfish interest we may have.
The World Bank has allocated 2.58 billion shillings to enhance water reticulation in Kilifi County. The project will target Malindi, Kilifi and Mtwapa towns, focusing on replacing old pipelines and installing new ones. Governor Gideon Mungaro says the funding will go a long way in ensuring the county is water secure.
We have invested through World Bank, Kilifi town, 580 million. Malindi, we have invested 1.2 billion. Mtwapa, we have invested another 800 million. The water reticulation. Removing all old pipes, putting new pipes. Tunajenga tanki Mtepeni, 5 million liter tank. It's costing us almost 200 million. Tunajenga tanki ingine mali kunaitwa Buni in Rabai, 2.5 million liter. Hiyo inatukost karibu milioni 80-90. Hii yote ni njia ya kuhakikisha kwamba wakati kuna rationing, kama una 5 million liter tank, tukiration siku 4, 5 million liter tank will be able to patia watu maji hiyo sehemu for the remaining days.
Now, Mbeere North Member of Parliament Geoffrey Kiringa Ruko has called for the professionalization of education management in the region to improve the performance of students in the semi-arid area of Embu County. Speaking during the issuance of secondary school bursaries at Siakago, Ruko highlighted the importance of strategic investment in education to ensure tangible outcomes for learners. Ruko noted that despite the substantial budget allocations directed towards education, some schools in Mbeere North continue to struggle with poor performance.
True, everybody is important, from the watchman all the way to the cooks, to those who are working within the compound of the school. They are all important. But the leadership, which we are looking upon for achievement of academic improvement of our schools is from the principal. It seems your school is fully.
And at least 100 visually impaired persons in Mandera County have benefited from a 10-day digital training program spearheaded by Kenya Society for the Blind and the UK government. The exercise is aimed at equipping the beneficiaries with foundational knowledge and practical skills required to thrive in the interconnected, technology-driven world. Speaking during the training session, Kenya Society for the Blind Executive Director Samson Waweru says that technology is a catalyst that will help the group not only to access information and services, but also opportunities that come with it.
I have never seen a kind of such program in Mandera, even the whole of Rhodestan. But KSB has seen our problem. It came about the evolving of technology. It says that people with Mandera, people who are visually impaired in Mandera County are not left behind.
A person who is blind, technology is the only bridge that can cure gaps of life and enable us access employment, opportunities, become better in our professions.
In other news, property of unknown value was reduced to ashes on Monday night after a fire gutted down several timber shops and rental houses at the Mangu informal settlement in Nyahururu, Laikipia County, affected residents, that were left with a little to salvage, claim the county fire brigade trucks arrived with no water. No casualties were reported in the incident that started around 7:30 p.m. The fire that started at 7 p.m. at the Mangu informal settlement raised homes before spreading to the nearby timber structures, leaving over 300 persons homeless. Affected residents claim they watched helplessly as the property went up in flames because the county fire brigade arrived with trucks that had no water. The residents tried their best to extinguish the fire, but strong winds made it difficult.
The fire that started around 7:30 p.m. at the Mangu informal settlement raised homes before spreading to nearby timber structures, leaving over 300 persons homeless. Affected residents claim they watched helplessly as their property went up in flames because the county fire brigade arrived with trucks that have no water. The residents tried their best to extinguish the fire, but strong winds made it difficult.
Lakini mambo ya ajabu ni kwamba gari yetu imekuja bila maji. Those people are not aware, hawako tayari. Kwa hivyo hii ni shida kubwa sana.
Hapa tunaungua, tunajaribu. Sisi wenyewe sasa tunataka kuzima moto.
Kusema kweli hawa watu wameenda hasara, sijui hata tutafanya nini. Moto bado mkiangalia inaendelea. People are helpless here. We are over 1,000 people here and we are all helpless.
The residents now want relevant authorities to intervene and find a long-lasting solution to such calamities.
Na hii kijiji itaisha jameni. Ni vibaya sana gavana. Vibaya sana gavana. Bilioni zetu 7 unafanya nayo kwa nini? Kama uwezi nunua gari za kuzima moto.
Kama angekuwa na maji moto huu ungekuwa umefika hiki kiwango. Na vile ambavyo tungependa kusema ni tuongeze basi gari la moto, kwa sababu sehemu hii imekuwa ikikuwa na hii shida ya moto kila wakati.
Tens of families were left stranded with no shelter to cover them in the cold of night. Yusufar reporting for Lunchtime News.
From Laikipia to Kiambu, where the county government has employed 77 new nurses as part of boosting its health service delivery. The nurses are set to replace those who have either traveled abroad seeking greener pastures or proceeded on leave. Kiambu Governor Kimani Wamatangi says his administration is in the process of recruiting more healthcare workers, including pharmacists, clinical officers, and specialists to strengthen the county's health system.
This
These are only coming to replace the ones who have dropped off, either from retirement or from death or from migration. We still have a big gap. So this is only the first group of the nurses that we are going to recruit. After they are settled, we are going to look at the gaps, the remaining gaps again, and then we fill the gap.
Nursing is not just a career, it is a calling. And therefore we are asking you to show compassion and empathy as you continue to offer these services.
Indeed, I've visited some facilities myself. I went to Wangige, I remember, one time on a Sunday. And as I was at the triage there, I was disturbed to see that you have one nurse on duty and she's coordinating everyone and everything from registration to redirection to everything alone in a level 4 hospital.
A family in Njue area of Lamu County is seeking the government's assistance in retrieving the body of their 23-year-old kin who allegedly drowned at sea after a boat he was sailing in capsized and sank in the Indian Ocean. According to reports, Tom Kibet, along with 2 companions, was traveling by boat when the tragic incident happened. The boat overturned in rough waters, and while his 2 companions survived, Kibet was allegedly swept away by the currents. Family members and residents of Njue area have been actively involved in the search for Kibet's remains, but their efforts have yielded no results.
Na ndio tukazama, ikabidi ile ndao ikaingia maji na tukaweza kila mmoja vile ataweza kujiokoa. Tukaweza kuogelea. Wawili tulikuwa mtu 3, mmoja wetu akazama, sisi wawili tukafanikiwa kutoka ngambo ile ingine.
Aliondoka tangu tarehe 15 Jumatano hadi saa hii Alhamisi, tukapata watu wa Marine walikuja wakatuhoji na wakarudi. Hadi tangu hiyo siku hadi saa hii hatujapata msaada wote kwa Lamu County. Hao watu wote na leo ndio wamekuja asubuhi, wakaja lisali moja, wakaingia, wakauhoji, na wakatoka. Hakuna kazi yenye iliendelea.
The challenge of access to clean water in Vihiga and Kakamega counties has been eased following the commissioning of a community water project in 2 devolved units. Cabinet Secretary for East African Community Arid and Semi-Arid Lands and Regional Development Beatrice Askul commissioned a multi-million solarized community water project at Simbalo School in Sabatia, Vihiga County, and another at Shihalia School in Ikolomani, Kakamega County, courtesy of the Lake Basin Development Authority. She urged respective county administration to undertake a last-mile connectivity initiative to ensure the water is distributed to the over 7,000 households targeted by the project.
Tuchangie kwa sababu nyinyi wote ni watoto wetu. Maji akiwa usafi ya boma iko, usafi ya mtoto na mambo ya hygiene kwa watoto. Akienda pale mali ya kujisaidia, wanakuja kunawa mikono, wanakuja kunywa maji. Inasaidia usafi ya binafsi na afya ya binafsi.
Today we are here, Lake Basin, coming to commission this water. Next time we would like to be here, come and plant fruit trees.
Hii mradi ni moja wa mfano wa serikali ambao tumekubaliana kufanya kazi pamoja. Kama waziri yeye anatoka kwa national government, wizara yake ni ya national government. Sisi tuko kwa county government ambao tumepatiwa mamlaka ya kusambaza maji na kufanya management ya maji. Na mnaona kwamba national government imekuja imejenga maji hapa. Na leo wananikabidhi hii maji, sasa mimi ndio nifanye management.
Very well, at about 28 minutes past the top of the hour, we are due for a fast break. But when we come back, I'll run you through a couple of more stories. We do business. And finally, I will be back with all the latest EPL and other sports news.
up with DSTV and we'll show up by giving you more incredible entertainment.
It's game time.
Upgrade your subscription between the 13th of January and the 31st of March and get an even higher package for a whole month on us.
I nominate myself.
If you're on Access, step up to Family and we'll step you up to Compact. Hakuna kitu feel better than putting a little bit in but getting a lot out. Step up and we'll step you up. Dial *423# or download my DSTV app to upgrade today.
But don't be afraid. All these co-workers are yours, including me. We'll teach you step by step.
Why do you always show up when I drink too much? Every time I drink too much, you show up. Who was it that sent you to pick me up?
Even the smallest speck of dust has its own light. Our eyes should see more than glamour and prosperity. And every time you pay attention, it'll change the whole world.
Your love is higher than the mountaintops. Your strength a river that will never stop.
Na watu wakipata shida wanaanza kuona ni kama huu Mungu haexist. And many people have used this as a platform of argument.
And like many other topics,
yes,
faith is one of those topics that the Bible has a definition.
Okay.
Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things that are expected, things that are to come.
Faith is not the absence of facts.
Many thanks indeed for keeping it KBC Channel 1. Remember, we are also live on all our social media spaces. Moving on, hundreds of youths turned up at the Kilifi National Polytechnic for job applications and placement in Middle East countries. The two-day exercise saw applicants with technical skills, including building construction, among other technical and vocational education training courses, being interviewed. This initiative, part of a nationwide effort by the government through the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection, seeks to address the high unemployment rates by facilitating labour mobility. Kilifi National Polytechnic Deputy Registrar Frida Nyakerario said the recruitment interviews started at the end of last year in the Upper Eastern region and temporarily stopped during the festive season.
Skills needed include youth with electrical engineering, building technology, mechanical. Generally, the TVET engineering courses are being recruited. If you have a certificate in any of those engineering courses, present yourself. And if you don't have, you have a certificate in any other, you are still eligible for recruitment because we are equally recruiting for unskilled labor.
Nimesomea kazi ya building and construction. Nimekuja kwa hii kampuni ya Blue Waves kutafuta kazi. Naomba kwa hiyo kazi tupate kazi.
Na naomba nikifanikiwa nikipata hiyo kazi ili nipate kusaidia watoto wangu na familia trach. Kwa hivyo wale wengine wote ambao wanataka kazi nafasi hiko.
A section of leaders from Kiambu County has called on the Salaries and Remuneration Commission to do away with the proposed salary increment for members of parliament. Details of this and other stories making headlines in our county news roundup.
Kiambu County Jubilee Party Chairman Jonathan Mara and former Kiambu Member of Parliament Jude Jomo urged the legislators to consider fulfilling the collective bargaining agreements with nurses, teachers and lecturers before considering their affairs.
How comes it cannot afford to pay them, and the same members of parliament who do budget for the country will be able to increase their salaries?
It provokes emotions from the common man. It is like adding salt onto a wound. Kenyans are already suffering, and one of the issues they want addressed is the high cost of living.
Meanwhile, Mandera County has officially launched the Early Childhood Development Education Feeding Program for the 2024-2025 financial year. The initiative is set to benefit 35,238 school-going children across 355 ECDE centers within the county.
My administration prioritizes education as a cornerstone for social transformation, as outlined in my manifesto to the people of Mandera.
Elsewhere, Murang'a County government has made efforts to strengthen education through the Inua Masomo Bursary Scholarship Program, which aims to support the top 10 students studying in day secondary schools.
I believe kwa hivi sasa takriban watoto 8,000 watafaidika na hii program na watasoma masomo bila kulipa ndururi yoyote. Basi tunaambia watoto watie bidii ili Murang'a iweze kuproduce watu ambao watasukuma hii Kenya hapo mbeleni.
In Narok County, matatu owners operating along the busy Narok-Nairobi highway are counting losses worth millions of shillings following 2 days of confrontations between Maasai herders and police officers. The conflict began after about 30 sheep were hit by a speeding vehicle in Dukamoja area.
Mambo kama hii isiwahi tokea. Suswa, kutoka Suswa tunajua kuote pale tunapita ni pale kuna wanyama, kuna mifugo. Sasa ile kitu tugeuliza serikali ijaribu mashimo mahadaki ambapo ng'ombe zitakuwa zikipitia.
In Nairobi, Tourism and Wildlife Cabinet Secretary Rebecca Miano has flagged off a delegation of 12 students and 8 educators who will be representing Kenya at this year's prestigious Middle East and Africa Future Leaders Challenge that starts tomorrow.
It is a small group that we are here today, but the event is of great magnitude.
Miano says the delegation will leverage the event to showcase Kenya's innovation in tourism and hospitality. For Lunchtime News, I'm Christine Matunda.
Now, 26 vocational training centers in Embu County have received assorted firefighting equipment to enhance fire disaster preparedness. The equipment procured by the county government of Embu is meant to equip the institutions with the necessary tools and training to handle fire emergencies effectively. Embu County Executive Committee member for Education Daniel Ngeranwa says 2 managers of each of the institutions were trained with a focus on critical areas such as emergency communication, fire prevention strategies, and suppression techniques.
Just a process of our preparedness to fight any eventuality concerning fires in our VTC institutions in the county. We have done this with the realization that and after noting that fires can come anytime, can attack anytime, we did our training, the training for all our managers in our VTCs and 1 teacher for every institution on fire fighting strategies and techniques and the necessary equipments.
From Embu to Kwale, where residents of a Ganzi location in the county have called on the government to hasten the process of hiring a chief for the area. The residents say they have been having a lot of trouble accessing essential government services, forcing them to go to the Kinondo location. The office of the Ganzi chief was built in the year 2026 and 2027 financial years, but it is yet to be occupied 8 years later. The residents further argue that the public land on which the chief's office was built is facing land-grabbing threats due to delays in appointing a chief.
Sijaona ofisi ikifanya kazi. Kwa hivyo request ya sisi jamii, tunataka hii ofisi ifanye kazi ili na sisi tupate maendeleo na tupate huduma ya serikali kwa karibu.
Huduma yetu tuko mbali. Twaomba ikiwezekana sisi tukaribishwe huduma ya upande wa serikali. Hata basali yenyewe sisi tunahangaika tukianza kupewa basali mpaka tuende Kinondo. Na ukiangalia Kinondo ni wachache watakaofika Kinondo.
Rangers, forest
Army, Navy, Kenya Polisi, AP, hii ndani ya gas sublocation hakuna. Na hatujapata hizo nafasi kwa sababu wakuwa kuna mfinyilio fulani. Kwa hiyo tunaiomba serikali na sisi kama location, kama wananchi wa Kenya, tuweze kupata hizo nafasi ili na sisi vijana tujivunie kuwa tuko ndani ya serikali ya Jamhuri ya Kenya.
Pia inakuwa ni changamoto kwa mlemavu aende kule akapate zile vitu, kwa sababu atatumia fea kubwa kushinda ningevipatia huku. Sasa tungependa kuwe na ufafanuzi ule wa usawa, kwa sababu singekuwa vizuri niteseke na hali ya kuwa hapa naweza pata haki yangu iko hapa.
Further afield, US President Donald Trump signed a raft of executive orders on his day one in office, including starting the process of withdrawing the US from the World Health Organization, mass deportation of undocumented illegal immigrants back to their home countries, and declaring a national emergency at the southern border.
On his first day in office on Monday, just a few moments after being sworn in as the 47th president of the U.S., making his second return to the White House, President Donald Trump signed a raft of executive orders with far-reaching ramifications.
With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense.
Trump signed an order to begin a mass crackdown on
Nick knows something, and he has been hiding from me.
Hello, Nick. Hey, relax. I need to talk to you urgently.
That must be a very important phone call.
What clues or evidence does he have?
We need to find a way, otherwise we will all be in trouble.
There is nothing that incriminates anyone. What took you so long?
Hi, Ruth. Hi.
There's something you left behind.
I'm feeling like I'm being watched. You agreed to meet Miss Ruth Muguna this evening.
When did I agree to that? Does she know you sent Blackie to me?
No. She can never know that.
Welcome back to Lunchtime News, and apologies for that technical hitch in regards to that story, in regards to Trump executing executive orders. Now, allow me to retake that story. US President Donald Trump signed a raft of executive orders on his day one in office, including starting the process of withdrawing the US from the World Health Organization, mass deportation of undocumented illegal immigrants back to their home countries, and declaring a national emergency at the southern border.
On his first day in office on Monday, just a few moments after being sworn in as the 47th president of the U.S., making his second return to the White House, President Donald Trump signed a raft of executive orders with far-reaching ramifications.
With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense.
Trump signed an order to begin a mass crackdown on illegal immigrants. It is feared the crackdown is targeting about 11 million illegal immigrants.
Illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came.
Another sweeping strategy is to end automatic citizenship for US-born children of illegal immigrants. He has also indefinitely suspended refugee resettlement, a program that for decades had allowed hundreds of thousands of people fleeing war and persecution worldwide to seek refuge in the United States. Trump also signed an executive order to begin the process of withdrawing the US from the World Health Organization, making it a second time he has issued such an order. He was critical of how the global agency handled COVID-19, accusing it of being biased towards China. The United States will also recognize only two genders after Trump signed executive orders proclaiming two biological sexes as male and female.
As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
TikTok also got a reprieve after he signed an order to delay the ban for 75 days and allow a possible resolution. In what appeared as a blow to climate change action, Trump signed a withdrawal from Paris Climate Treaty. He also issued 1,600 pardons in connection with the Capitol riots on 6 January 2021. Many prisoners are expected to be released within hours. Giverson Minor, Lunchtime News.
Let's now tilt the lens and focus on matters business, where a tour operator has underscored the need to leverage partnership with other tourism value chain partners to boost tourism numbers. Crowned Eagle Safari CEO David Iteo says key among the initiative will include promoting the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya brand and sensitizing the masses on the importance of travel to earmark Kenya as a preferred tourist destination.
We have a lot to offer in this country. Of course, cultural tourism being one of them. We have the best beaches here. We'll talk about Diani. That is one of our leading beach destinations in the country. As we focus on bringing guests in, that is inbound, we're also focusing on getting our Kenyans traveling within the country and outside the country.
Tana River County government says own revenue generation has increased by 93% as more investors set up in the devolved unit. Here's Benson Rioba with the details.
Have faced challenges in revenue collection, with most devolved units collecting an average of 20%. Tana River County government says it issued business permits to 2,410 investors last year, representing a 30% increase when compared to 2023. This helped the county to collect 90.2 million shillings in own revenue, which represent a 93.32% increase from the previous financial year.
Mpango unaitwa Village Cluster Program. Huu mpango ni wa kusaidiana na serikali kupunguza gharama ya pesa ile serikali inatumia kila mwaka kwa sababu ya majanga, na pia kuisaidia hii county kutoka ile status ya rural na iwe ya urban county.
The agriculture sector has seen majority schemes established. He says Tana River County government purchased and installed 2 rice machines for 2 cooperative societies. The devolved unit has also set up 2 milk cooling plants in Garsen and Bangale, which have boosted processed milk production from 600 liters to 1,000 per day.
Sasa tumeanza kufanya spatial planning ya vijiji. The cluster, it means that we consolidate a number of villages into one, so that services are easier to deliver.
The European Union funded project Go Blue project has seen the fishing subsector contribution to the economy grow. Under the project, small-scale fish folk have been equipped with modern fishing equipment ranging from boat and refrigeration plants to reduced post-harvest losses. Benson Rioba reporting for Lunchtime News.
Back to the U.S., where President Donald Trump has signed an executive order granting TikTok a 75-day extension to comply with a law that requires a sale or ban of the platform. President Trump says during that time, the U.S. will not enforce the law passed by Congress last year and signed by former President Joe Biden. Frederick Moki has the details of this and other stories making headlines from across other parts of the world.
About 12 hours after shutting itself down in the United States, TikTok is back for many users almost like it never left, attributing its return to a move by President Donald Trump to save the app. The Biden administration had argued that TikTok could be used by China as a tool for spying and political manipulation. Opponents of a ban have cited freedom of speech as a reason for keeping the platform open. The law was upheld by Supreme Court on Friday and went into effect on Sunday, but the Biden administration said it would leave implementing the law to the incoming administration given the timing. President Trump has signed an executive order granting TikTok a 75-day extension to comply with the law that requires a sale or ban of the platform.
As of today, TikTok is back.
Meanwhile, China-made products for the Spring Festival are seeing booming sales across the world as about 1/5 of the world's population gear up to celebrate the festival, which will fall on 29th of this month. The Spring Festival is China's grandest traditional festival where people across the country return to their hometowns for celebrations. On December 4th, 2024, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, inscribed Spring Festival social practices of the Chinese people in celebration of the traditional New Year on the representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Elsewhere, Russia recorded a budget deficit of more than 3 trillion rubles for the third year in a row in 2024, with both spending and revenue rising sharply as Moscow ploughed economic resources into the war in Ukraine. The overall deficit in Russia stood at 3.49 trillion rubles, with revenues increasing 26% to 36.71 trillion rubles and spending climbing 24.2% to 40.19 trillion rubles. The shortfall narrowed as a percentage of gross domestic product to 1.7% from 1.9% in 2023, but was significantly wider than the initial plans for a deficit of 0.9% of GDP or 1.6 trillion rubles. Frederick Moki for Lunchtime News.
Placed Wolverhampton Wanderers continued their losing streak after they were thrashed 3-1 by Chelsea at the Stamford Bridge. Chelsea is now fourth placed, 2 points above their Saturday rivals Manchester City. Tosin Adarabioyo helped put Chelsea on the right track in the 24th minute before Matt Doherty of Wolverhampton capitalized on Robert Sanchez's error on the last-minute injury time. But Mark Cucurella and Noni Madueke. In tennis, former world number 2 Paola Badosa has reached the semi-finals of the Australian Open, where she will face either the defending champion Aryna Sabalenka or Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova. The Spaniard upset Coco Gauff 7-5, 6-4 victory to end the American 13-match winning streak. Badosa had been struggling with back injuries and recovered from a stress fracture in her spine to be named the WTA Comeback Player of the Year. That's where we put a cap on KBC Lunchtime News this Tuesday afternoon. Many thanks indeed for joining us. But remember, we have more news at 4, 7, and 9. But you can keep yourself updated via all our social media spaces, including our very beautiful KBC digital app. Many thanks for everyone who has made this broadcast a success. My name is Njue, and Brian Muraru has been my colleague on the sign language interpretation on the bottom of your screen. Thank you so much for joining us. To have yourself a fruitful afternoon.